Şöyle başlıyoruz. Sonra oraya gidiyoruz. Tamam mı?
Kayıttayım ben.
Tamam. The story of the magic flying silk carpets begins with this one cocoon. But where did one cocoon arrive in Turkey from is right on this map. In China, 1274, when Marco Polo brought out the cocoons, no one knew in this country that it would be so big today as an industry. But the cocoon traveled with Marco Polo through the Silk Route, arrived in Cappadocia, before arriving in Bursa, where in this country we get the best mulberry leaves from which these cocoons are produced. And then, of course, Turkish cocoons are world famous because they're white. Like the diamonds, the color of the cocoon matters when it comes to producing the best silk carpet in the world. But not every cocoon happens to be the right cocoon when it comes to making silk carpets. For example, some of them are known to be double cocoons. And one like this, which is the most preferred color and the size. And then sometimes they even get sick and produce these with the yellow color, and then we would not be using them in the making of Turkish carpets. Maybe you can see that. But sometimes they would come out so small, and again we would not be using them in the making of the Turkish carpets. But sometimes, if it is good enough, from one cocoon we can unravel as long as a 1 mile long filament. And if you're talking about a carpet that is 2.17 square meters, which is 4 by 6 in feet dimensions, it takes that young lady approximately 2 years to make that carpet, but unraveled on that one carpet, she needs 25,000 of these cocoons to be unraveled, put end on end to make that magic flying carpet. That's enough silk to go around the equator once. So how do we extract the cocoons? That's the next stage. Evet. Beyler bir su daha rica edeyim.
Hasan koş bir su getir kardeşim.
Şimdi bir tane,
İstediğin kadar koş.
tamam abi, bir tane de ondan lazım. Bunları hoplattıracağız, tamam mı abi şimdi? Bu elim nereden boya oldu böyle? Bir silecek bir şey var mı arkadaşlar? Bir yere değdim ben. Sen yapacaksın ben anlatırken işini, tamam mı? Ondan sonra bundan bitireceğiz buradaki olayı. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's see the process as to how the silk cocoon is unraveled. Of course, we have a high-tech machine like this. In 2012, we're still using the old technique, maybe with an electric motor, but basically it was operated by foot at one time, so now we operate it with electricity, but this is how the machine works. Buyurun. By using this ancient art and pulling the cocoons by this very raw type of bir dakika durun. Tamam mıyız? So, ladies and gentlemen, now by using the latest technology, which is an old brush, buyurun, the expert starts to pull these cocoons one by one, and he gets a handful of them, discarding the first maybe 50 yards of it, because that is really not the quality we would like to use in the making of the carpets. So then he will discard that first section, and then he will start to pull the fibers out from many cocoons, and by simply tying it to the needles here, he will start the machine. And it will go around this spool, tied to the next lot, and by the working of the machine, I would like to bring your attention closer to the cocoons which are in this cylinder container. And by doing this, I'm sure you are noticing how many of the fibers are being pulled together. And yet, if you can come a little closer, you can even see the dancing cocoons. The dancing cocoons. So this is the method. We pull out the fibers and we bring it onto the next spool where it spins around. And then of course, durduruyoruz. We would be drying them out into something like this. And of course, at this stage, they are still not very strong. So you can easily break them. But by bringing more of these together, we obtain a strength. And the strength we obtain, after being colored, they become like this. So when you take this, and when you take this together, and you feel them, you would definitely understand the difference between this one not dyed and not completely wrapped, and versus this one. The big difference is when you pull this, you can never break it. And you will end up cutting your fingers if you try it a little harder. And that's why the pure silk fiber is the strongest fiber in the world, man-made that is, and that is why they did use it at one time for parachutes, but today of course parachutes do not use the silk because silk is not a cheap product. And so we basically use them still in the making of Turkish carpets. Thank you. Bu tamam. Bir ıslak bir bez var.
Evet, hazırsak başlayabiliriz. Tamam.
The laying of the eggs from the caterpillar starts in the month of July. And then we keep these eggs in a storage between 4 to 5 degrees until the next spring. And that basically is April in this country. That's when we get the mulberry leaves. And so we feed the mulberry leaves to these caterpillars. I've actually seen a peasant go out to the field and collect these leaves and put it on 3 sides of a donkey 3 times a day. And they bring these leaves to the house and lay them on trellises where the caterpillars are and feed them for the next 41 days. So by the 41st day, they will put little sticks next to where these caterpillars are, and by that time the caterpillar is about as big as my little finger here, and then it will start to make the cocoon around itself. Of course, by nature, the cocoon is to be pierced, and that's why the cocoon is made for the safety of the caterpillar, because by that time when it pierces the cocoon, and you can see that moment right here, it's about to fly out for freedom, and the duration of the life generally for each caterpillar becoming a butterfly is about 9 hours 15 minutes. So by the end of the 9 hours and 15 minutes, the female ones will lay the eggs and then they die, whereas the male ones will die, and that's how the cycle is completed. But man's mission is to, unfortunately, boil them at 68 degrees, because we do not want it pierced, because then the longevity of the fibers would not be lasting. And basically, when we start to pull the fibers out, then we can use them as we have just seen in the making of the pure silk carpets. But in the meantime, there's nothing wasted. Even the caterpillar, when it comes out inside, becomes good chicken feed. So you get the best yolk. Tamam. Evet. Now we would like to show you, ladies and gentlemen, how commercially a Turkish carpet is washed. Now we are brushing it, going in the direction of the pile as well as against it. So this is how it is commercially cleaned. Then we have a special instrument to get rid of the excess water. That's going in the direction of the pile. But of course, we have not been able to get rid of all the water that's inside that carpet. And unless you get a carpet all dry, it will start to rot. This is why getting it really dry is the most important process. And that's why they have special dryers like the machine he is going to roll it into. we've seen how much excess water has come out of it, and we open the cylinder again and take our carpet back. And lay it flat. And take a good look at it before we hang them up, which is how the drying process will continue. So he is now going in the direction of the pile very gently. Of course, you can have your carpets sent to professional cleaners. That's one way of doing it, which would probably cost you around $300 to $400 in North America. However, there are easier ways of doing it in our times. They have these carpet shampoos, and you can use them also with their applicators. They would normally put this much of liquid into it, and you add 10 times more water into the same applicator, and you go in the direction of the pile. And you don't need a machine like this to dry it. In 20 minutes it will dry out by itself, and that really is a quicker way of cleaning these carpets at home, and maybe might save you some money in the long run. Tamam. Şekil. Şimdi şöyle durayım.
Hazır olunca başlayabiliriz.
One of the most important elements with handmade carpets are the dyes that are being used. There's always a question in the world, are the vegetable dyes better than the chemical dyes? And what sort of plants, herbs we use in the making of these root dyes, as we call them. Now, of course, we may be using walnut shells, or we may be using madder root for the red, this for the brown. And of course, this has been in usage along with onion skins to get these special dyed wool yarns. And then we have a spinning wheel here to spin the wool that is shorn. And the best time of the year to shear the wool would be in the month of June, because then the sheep would have fed themselves on the green grass, and they would be lanolin rich at that time. And the richness of lanolin is very important in the durability of a wool carpet, because the more you wash it, shinier it will become and longer it will last. So that is why the content of lanolin becomes an essential factor when you are working with a wool-on-wool or wool-on-cotton carpet. So these are the natural dyes, and that's how the spinning is done. But one final word, we have created fantastic chemical dyes since the second half of the 20th century, especially the Bayer Leverkusen dyes from Germany are some of the finest dyes chemically made, and we use them in the preparation of those very fine pure silk carpets. So I would rather not compare apples to oranges, but of course there are good vegetable dyes, and there are good also chemical dyes, as well as not so good ones. So the best expert even in the world cannot understand if the carpet dye is correct or not, unless they wash it, have it sun-tested, sun-dried twice, to test if the colors will bleed or if the colors will fade under the sun is the best test in the world. Only then we would know the quality of the dyes. Tamam. Beyler oluyor mu? Şöyle ortaya. Hadi beyler. Böyle
Ama sen de otur. Hadi
imza ortaya.
Aşağı bunu. Çifte hazır mı?
Hazır hazır.
Okay.
Kayıttayız.
So after having shown you around the different sections of this production school, we're finally seated comfortably, I hope. You can relax because I would like to show you some of our examples which are already finished. And by doing that, I would like to show you the difference between a nomadic carpet and a city carpet. With the city carpets you have a central medallion and a very intricate pattern. And of course the way to understand the intricacy of the pattern, you'll have to look at the back side. The back tells you the story, how fine a carpet is. And of course, the nomads are not mathematicians. They're not interested in how many knots to a square inch a carpet would have. So basically, to them, durability is the important part. Tutalım havaya. And when you look at this nomadic carpet, which is from Turkey's south coast, Antalya Döşemealtı, here we find the interesting cross design. And the cross design is one of the designs not only used on the Turkish carpets, but by the Navajo Indians, they also use the same designs. Because the Navajo Indians and the Turkic tribes, when they lived in Asia Minor, a couple of thousand years ago, they went through the same direction. The Navajos went through the Chukchi Sea to Siberia and onto Americas. Because of the landmass rising, they were able to go through the land bridge onto Alaska. From Alaska they came down to Albuquerque, New Mexico, which is where they currently are. And especially if you look on the map of Arizona, you would see a Tuba city to the west. And the word Tuba is also a Turkish girl's name, T-U-B-A. Tuba city is where some 10,000 Navajos live today, and they still use this cross design as the Turkish people use it, they also use it. So the cross is a design that was used before even Christianity existed. But on this carpet you can definitely see some multiculturalism, because Turkish people are used to living together with minorities of the Christian faith as well as of the Jewish faith. For example, in Istanbul you have over 3,000 mosques, and you have 157 churches, and you have 25 synagogues. So on this one carpet you can see the 5 dots representing the 5 daily prayers, as well as the 5 pillars of Islam on which this is based. You can see the oleander flower representing the Jewish Star of David and the Christian cross, all on one carpet coming from Turkey's South Mediterranean coastline of Antalya Döşemealtı. And a very beautiful carpet, in fact, with scorpion designs to get rid of the malice and to bring good luck. These designs that you see here are hooks, again to get rid of the malice and to bring good luck. And of course each design has a meaning. Koyalım. The red carpet on which we walk coming into this establishment reminds us that the red carpet is rolled out when important people come into an establishment. That is part of our tradition as well. The next one, which happens to be a city carpet, and this is from Kayseri, which is only 70 kilometers away, with a beautiful medallion design and the intricate pattern. It happens to be a wool-on cotton, whereas the all-wool carpet was the nomadic one. So basically most designs are either intricate patterns like this, made in cities, or we have nomads who still live in the Taurus Mountains. Just a while ago I showed you how carpets are unique and cannot be duplicated. So this taş pınar, again, made by the same girl, one after the other, using the same loom. Again, when you measure them, one is never identical as the other one. Koyduk. We have some woolen carpets right here, which are used by those nomads as mattresses. Because those are simple people, and they sleep on the floor, and they would cover themselves with a blanket made from the wool. So the coarseness gives them the support, and this is what they would be sleeping on. So, ladies and gentlemen, handmade carpets, remember, are different than the machine-made ones. You can definitely duplicate the machine-made carpets. Açalım, düz dursun. Whereas the machine-made ones, çevirelim, aynı yönde dursun, cannot be duplicated. And they are tufted. Tufting means a V format. So the V format stands upright, and that's why when you twist these around, turn them around, there will be no color change. Whereas with the handmade ones, there will always be a color change. So how durable are the machine-made ones? Well, probably one would last about 20 years. And that's if you don't have cats who would love to play with them. And that's why the machine-made carpets will wear out in time, maybe 20 years. Whereas the handmade ones, minimum would last you around 90 years, if used correctly. And you have to learn how to wash them correctly, like we have just seen, and maintain them correctly, so they do not become an old, useless, and valueless carpet. Bunları kaldıralım. Evet, oradan açmaya devam ediyoruz. Büyük kollardan. Evet, sırayla açın abicim, büyük kollarını. A beautiful pastel carpet, nomadic style, coming from Turkey's west coast, the township of Milas. Tutalım. And the Milas carpets are famous with this design reminding us of the meandering river. River Meander is in west coast Turkey, and that's where we grow tobacco. So tobacco earth tones are quite visible on this beautiful pastel carpets. Evet, hızlı. Patchwork istiyorum. And then we have beautiful designs coming from Sivas. We call it the shell design, and maybe you have noticed how the girls have tied the fringe at this time, a little differently than all the rest of it. And then we have the beautiful and very, very fine all wool carpets coming from the Turkish-Iranian border fronts. We have these dark colors with the reds and the blues. These are the most Turkish colors, by the way. The Turkish red, as we call it. And of course, the world's very famous hereke, as being the wool-on cotton group of our rugs. How do you like this one?
Beautiful.
Great.
Well, I'm glad you like the reverse side of our carpet, which has approximately 316 double knots in a square inch. So when you give a party, please use the reverse side, because no one would notice the difference. But when the party is over, hızlı, use the good side of this Flowers of the Seven Hills, which basically represents the old town of Constantinople. And the name Hereke is inscribed either with the Latin alphabet in one corner or with the old Arabic script. So that shows you how Hereke is unique in the world. And this is a wool-on cotton group of our rugs, and I will show you some silk ones as well. İpekleri açalım. It's most recommended, ladies and gentlemen, when you see a pure silk carpet and expect them to turn this around, you will definitely notice this fantastic change of color. And that shows you that the direction of the pile changes the color of the carpet. With some 412 double nuts in a square inch, this happens to be one of our fine floor carpets. Most people do not expect silk to be a floor carpet. They expect it to be a wall hanging. But when you put 800 fibers in one warp thread, it will take all the traffic in the world. And this is a lovely dining room size that you can use. Now, devam değişik ölçülerini açalım. Of course, they come in different sizes, the pure silk ones. When you walk on the pure silk carpets, it's recommended you take your shoes off and your socks off and feel the fineness of the pure silk. It becomes a beautiful therapy for your feet. In case you get tired, one of the best methods when you go home is to walk on a pure silk carpet, bare feet. We call it feet therapy. Now, of course, they come in smaller sizes. Küçüklerden açıyoruz. Şu küçüklerden hepsinden. Aç ince kalın. Aç. Tutuyoruz havayı inceleri. Of course, when they become like the ones the ladies were working on, and this one again like she is doing with 928 double nuts to a square inch, these become wonderful wall hangings. We don't display these when they're so small on the floor. So they become like the paintings, like a Turkish Picasso, and you would find the lady's name, Nazik, which is inscribed into this beautiful small piece, is to be hung on the wall. And they have different designs. This is from nature, of course, and this is with the family prayers niche design, and this one is the famous tree of life design. They come in different sizes, different finenesses. Finer they become, more expensive they will naturally be. And yet, evet, we also have, çınarları açıyoruz, küçüklerinden başlayarak. We also have award-winning carpets to display for you. Now the Çınar family, which is inscribed into the corner here, is Turkey's pride and joy, and they have won the Atlanta Magnificent Carpet Award in 3 consecutive years, 2006, 7, and 8. So these are the little ones, and we would like to, at the end of our show, present to you these award-winning carpets. Evet, üçünü de açalım. Now you know why Turkish carpets is a brand name in the world of carpets. No one in the world of carpets has ever come close to Hereke carpets. Hereke is our brand name, and we're proud in the sense that our grandparents have created the world of carpets. They have left this as a heritage to us. So we would like to leave this to the future generations, so they can be continuing this dying art. And in the hope that it doesn't become a dying art, I would like to thank you for your wonderful audience, and would like to thank these gentlemen for their wonderful help. Thank you very much. Evet, tamam. Bu kadar beyler. Bu saatten sonra fazlası çıkmıyor.
Burayı hazır olunca başlayabiliriz.
Evet. Today is a special day from us on the 15th of October 2012 to the future generations regarding an art form that has been around in the last 2,500 years. When you look at the old Pazarık carpet in the Hermitage Museum, you see some designs of nomads, horsemen carrying their horses or riding on their horses. But at the same time, you see reindeer design. And the reindeer of the Chukchi tribe today who live by the Bering Strait, they still carry on the old tradition. So the reindeer feed themselves in the tundra with the lichen, which is their way of sustenance. And of course the Chukchi people use the meat and as well as the skin from the reindeer. And that is why 2,500 years ago the reindeer design was on the Pazarık carpets. Especially if you watch this movie of Spencer Wells, The Journey of Men, and that we are all Africans under the skin, which is a PBS production from 2010, studying the last 50,000 years of mankind and the last 2,000 generations, all coming from 2 Y chromosomes. 90% of the world's today, 7 billion people, basically with the 2 Y chromosomes, and 90% belong to one group, other 10% belong to the other group. So the 10% today is Australia and New Zealand, and the other 90%, including the Turkic tribes and the Navajos, belong to that group. So this very ancient art form, today with this DVD, we hope to give the message to the future generations that we are trying to contribute to what our great-great-grandparents have created, this master art form, and we hope that it does not become a dying art. So those of you in the future generations, when you watch this program we're producing today, and with all its details, that I will take you through this village with different sections of it and try and give you some information, will hopefully bring some light as to what we have done in the last 2,500 years. Thank you. Tamam.